A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mwangu Shampagi. And tonight we'll have a very small panel but discussing weighty issues. And one of the major issues is policing the debate on the lifting of age limit. The police is under the microscope or under the spotlight on how it has been handling the current debate on age limits. We'll be looking at critical incidents. One was this week in Rukungiri, in which a senior police officer, the district police commander for Rukungiri, actually lost an eye, and there was the first fatality of this debate, in which a person was shot and killed. We also had the shooting at Dr. Kiza Besige's car. Police is, of course, investigating what exactly happened. There was some chaos in Mbale just today, also involving the opposition, and there have been other actions and statements from other players. How is the police conducting itself in this matter is what we'll be concentrating on tonight. And we'll be opening our phone lines fairly early so that you can give us your take on this whole debate. To discuss that with me tonight, Angelo Izama. Angelo, very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles, for having me.
Angelo is a regular on the show, one of the people who have been on the show for the longest time. You're a panelist at some time. And
yes,
yeah.
I actually, the first show, I think I attended the very first show.
Yes.
For the state.
Very nice to have you always here. We also have Mr. Samson Lubega. Mr. Samson Lubega is Senior Superintendent of Police. Samson Lubega is Public Relations Officer for the Field Force Unit and Operations. The Field Force Unit and Operations are the ones who are the front line of handling all these politically related debates involving the opposition. And Mr. Lubega, very nice to have you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lubega, I want to start with you on the question of, the big question is, in this very contentious debate, the police finds itself not just at the center, but actions of the police are also under scrutiny by the public. How would you say you're faring from your own assessment so far?
Yeah, thank you. So far, so good from the police. So far, so good. That's what I can say. But I want to take you to the background of this whole issue. How it started.
Before you go to the background, so far, so good in your assessment means what?
It means that we have managed the consultations, and well, we lost a life, but I think we prevented a lot of other lives from taking place. We have prevented loss of property, where there are some instances where the property has been lost, but we have prevented it to a very large extent. So far we have managed several consultation meetings where you think that if the police was not restrained, it did not restrain itself, you may find we'll have lost so many lives.
What do you mean by that?
Sorry?
What do you mean by that? If you say if the police had not restrained itself, it would have resulted in a lot of lives.
The police was attacked to the last point, but because it was did or whatever it was done in a professional manner, that's why we managed to reduce.
Why do you think the police gets attacked in this political contest? Why do you think the police becomes the target of the public it's supposed to be protecting?
There are so many reasons as to why. When you look at the circular that was issued out by AIGP Operations, he was looking at issues to do with illegal possession, illegal use of bad language which is spreading hatred, language which is inciting the public, and these are things that we have seen, we have heard. So, and also the other reason is you find that when the police is together with these leaders, they come to some agreed positions They come to some agreed position. But in the process of those, what we have agreed, you find that these leaders divert from the area on agreed, because these consultations, that they need to be done within the Public Order Management Act.
Thank you very much. I plan to reserve the circular of Asmani Mujenyi to a later portion of the discussion. But now that you have introduced it, let's discuss it a little more. You're referring to a circular in which the Director of Operations, Asmani Mujenyi, writes and tells the police that those, that among your work, I think it is in G, I think he puts it in G, someone will deliver to me the letter shortly, where he says those who are opposed to stop intimidation of those who support the age limit removal. What did you interpret that? If a person at the level of Director of Operations can send that as an instruction in an internal communication to the police, that in a contest that has two parties, he identifies one group for protection, what does that mean for the other?
You see, when you look at those consultative meetings, these are very clear images where I would see that some groups of people putting on red, attacking another group of people. Okay, there were instances where MPs were attacked at the rallies. MPs who are against or for lifting, they have been attacked. So many of them, I cannot mention them here. Yes.
But
so
as
if you mention something like that,
police officer, as a professional police officer, Mr. Lubega, as a professional police officer, when an internal communication, maybe I should bring Angelo into this discussion. Angelo, I don't know if you have seen, you've chance to see that internal communication.
This was the directive going to,
yes, a directive,
to the officers.
Yes, going to the officers. And the officers are being told, among the issues that Mr. Lubega has already highlighted, one of them, one of the subsections, one of the outlines is to prevent, to ensure that people who support the lifting of the age limit are not intimidated. But this is a contest that has those who support and those who don't support. Now, I don't know if you can help me and our viewers understand what that kind of communication means for an officer in the field.
Actually, in normal political times, this kind of directive wouldn't be unusual. Let me give you an example. Hardline racist states decide that a Supreme Court order saying that schools that have been segregated in the American South should start bringing in black students. So after it was resisted, they sent the National Guard to escort minorities to their classes. You know, that action is seen as a good way to use law enforcement, because it's the policy of the country to allow for integration. Here, you have a situation where a conversation about lifting of age limits is largely pitting a majority against a minority, but it has become sort of violent, because those who support this idea are going against the grain, at least from what I can observe. So they find themselves, you know, picketed where they go for their consultations. I was at a salon the other day to cut my hair, and I saw two security people in plain clothes, but I could see that they were armed just here in town. So I asked the hairdresser what was going on. He said, I suspect those are the pro age limit people, MPs, who have been given security
protection.
Yeah, I think that in a democracy like this one here, protecting of minorities would be the ideal thing. I think what is unusual here is that the majority voice is being drowned, I think, because people largely see the age limit as essentially there's really nothing reasonable about it. So they find themselves surrounded by public opinion which is against it. So we have this odd thing where the majority in terms of numbers in fact is a minority in terms of opinion. And if the police is deployed to protect them, in usual circumstances it would be okay. But right now it is seen as something, you know, unusual
Mr. Vega,
and wrong.
Yes. Looking at that instruction, that directive, I shudder to imagine what the actual briefings sound like. If this was the written guide to DPCs, RPCs, and commanders at different units within the policing the policing department, when someone says police has actually unveiled itself as a biased institution, as a biased as a biased arbiter in a political contestation, would that be wrong, you think? Looking at Mugenyi's specific instruction guide.
That is wrong because when you look at that circular, the spirit in which it was made, it is basically for purposes of conducting and regulating the conduct and behavior of all those people who are involved in this consultation, because of what we have seen. Some of these things we have seen them, the images, how a consultation that started as peaceful, how it evolves into something else. Yes. So, as the police, those directives are in the spirit of ensuring that the consultations are conducted, and then the behavior is within the
does it concern you that by this particular directive, the police is standing on one side of this contestation instead of standing in the middle?
But we are standing in the middle.
How? When you say protect Angelo against intimidation, when Angelo is involved in a contest, a debate with Charles
one
Mangusha
person is intimidating the other, then the police has to be in the middle.
So, but how does police go with the default position that Charles Mangusha will intimidate Angelo?
It did not imply only to these people. It also implies to these people.
No, but that was specific.
No.
Yes, it was.
Charles, to be fair, the challenge the Ghana police force has is that it is trying to, it is operating in a political environment where the political issues that it's dealing with are perhaps beyond their control. You know, police is a military institution. It is based upon superior orders. The way it works is that superior orders must be respected, no matter the kind of order that comes down the ladder. But which means that the quality of the order that comes on top really influences the decision of the officer that is sent out in the morning with marching orders. The conversation we really ought to be having is the quality of the orders that come out on top. If the police gets involved in a political contest and it cannot extricate itself from that contest, it has no influence over the political character of that contest, I don't think it should be overly blamed. I feel some sympathy for the police, one, because they cannot reject superior orders. Secondly, as you very well know, many officers, especially low-ranking officers, have, when they're involved in this, like what happened in Rukunjiri, I think what's going on in their mind is to do two things. One is to survive. There's a melee, I have to survive. And the survival is in two parts. First survival is that I have to physically survive in case there is a chaos. The second one is that I have to survive because if I don't implement these orders, my career, especially if you're an officer, may be affected. We have seen tons of reshuffles, which their character is it always follows the logic that someone did not do enough, and we know significantly enough about this particular Inspector General of Government that
of police,
of police, that if you track the multiple reshuffles that have happened in his very lengthy career, they tend to follow a political logic. So I think that officers, in middle-ranked officers and lower-ranking officers, I think they know that the extent to which I implement my orders, regardless of what I feel about them, is necessary for me to survive in the force.
Would that be accurate, Mr.
Charles, to react to what Mr. Angelo is saying, I don't think that is true. And I wouldn't have to bog this down to that extent, that the officers are doing these things under order. Yes, there are orders, but in the thinking, in the understanding of the police, these orders are lawful orders. Because if there is clearly an outlined law that if you're going to consult, these are the guidelines which are known to everyone. Do A, B, C, D. Because when you talk like that, it's like the police, there has not been any consultation taking place with the police looking on. Okay? There have been so many of these consultations. I've mentioned only that you don't want to give you the background. And I'm sure you don't want me to give it.
No. You have the space.
No, I told you.
Give me the background.
This consultation came after people were angered in Parliament. Okay? And with that anger, they went out in the public to start these consultations, forgetting that there are laws which govern these consultations. That we have to do this, you have to do this, which things I don't need to mention here because we have been explaining them.
But did the MPs make the laws?
They did. They did, and that's where you see that some of these consultations have been allowed and have been peaceful.
When you use allowed, I ask who has the authority to allow or deny?
Now, when I use that word allowed, I mean that they have gone on, okay, without interference.
Doesn't it imply that police has arrogated itself the power to decide whether to allow or not to disallow?
Don't focus so much on that word allowed.
Why not?
What I'm trying to tell you is that it has gone on. Okay, I withdraw that word, allowed. I'm saying these consultations have gone on. But let me give you an instance of Kasube. The consultations were going on because initially they are supposed to have this consultation at near market, but the police we replied and said no, you get an alternative place. So they took it up there near the tombs, Kasube tombs. So as they were going on, the speaker after speaker, this one was doing this. Then came Honorable Chaglan. You don't know, Charles, what happened?
What happened?
You don't know.
You tell our viewers. I might know, but the viewers don't know.
You don't know. So as Honorable was there, he said whatever he said. People were happy. Then other speakers came on. As time was, you're supposed to leave by 7. So when Honorable Chaglani, you can imagine Kasuri at that time, when it's coming to 7. When he finished addressing the crowd, he moved out from the crowd. And he came with a number of people. And normally these people who move with him, some of them, we have seen this. Some of them are intoxicated, some of them are high. So they were saying that we are going to use this route. And the police were saying, no, this is the route we agreed on. Remember, the other people, the other MPs, they're still communicating, they're still talking to the crowd. So he said, we are going to use this route. We said, no. At this time, the traffic this side is too high. You use this alternative route. Now they started, those boys started saying that, no, our president has to pass here. Our president has to pass here. They started blocking the road, started pelting the police with stones, and
police opened fire.
They degenerated like that.
And police opened fire.
Not fire. We opened. We use force depending on the magnitude of the problem. So you asked me that.
Let me ask the question. The background is important, and to your credit, yes, I agree. There was a consultation in March, India, involving Ibrahim Kasozi, Ibrahim Kasozi of the FDC. He had a fairly peaceful rally or consultation process. It only deteriorated afterwards when some of their members were arrested and they wanted to go to Kabalagala police to rescue them, apparently. You had, yes, Kasubi was going on fairly smoothly until there was chaos. Nakawa went on successfully, but other and Chireka, other consultations have been utter chaos. My question goes back to one thing. Why do you think, how do you account, when you're doing internal reflection and review of incidents like Kasubi, incidents like happened in Ukonjiri, incidents like in Imbale, do you as police ask, when did we lose public trust? That when we say one thing, the public insists on wanting to do a different thing. And the leaders, we can't seem to have a meeting point between these particular leaders on how we manage public order under the Public Order Management Act, which many people disagree with, justifiably. Yes. Many people think the Public Order Management Act is a repressive law. Like Angelo referred to racial segregation laws in the United States of America. Like people have referred to laws like the apartheid laws in South Africa. People think the Public Order Management Act is not meant to facilitate public order, but rather to deny freedom of expression. But why do you think, in your view, and in your reviews as police, explains that absence of trust in the police as an institution, especially on public matters?
There is no absence of trust. There is no absence of trust. And that is your own view. That is your own making. There is no absence of trust. That is why these MPs come to the police. I'm telling you, all these consultations, they have written to us. Yes,
because they're trying to comply with the law.
Yes.
Yes. That doesn't signify that doesn't necessarily mean that they trust the police, but you've looked, Mr. Lubega, at crime and traffic reports of the police force itself. Angelo, if you have looked at some of them, reporting of incidents is very high, as high as 300%. People come and report, but do they expect that they'll get answers when they come and report?
But if they are not expecting answers, then they would stop coming.
No.
They would stop. Yes, because if you trust, if you think that the police will not help you, then you don't have to go.
Actually, this is the view of the police, that that people report incidents because it's a matter of course. And if you look at the rate of murders in Uganda and the rate of cases that are closed, what is the disparity there? You have the statistics. There are almost 6,000 to 7,000 open murder cases. Only a fraction are resolved. When the police has got when the public has got no recourse, yes, you go and report. But I'm telling you that the statistic you're looking at, Lubega, is that if the police were seen as a reasonable, there's a reasonable expectation that your case would be resolved, the reporting numbers would go up. If you stick to the number of cases that are actually reported as a sign that the public is responding, I think you've set the bar very low.
I think the example you use of murders is actually on a higher level, because people expect that murder is going to be resolved by the police. But petty theft. Yeah. When they snatch my phone in traffic, when I report to police, the reason I need that police SD number is not necessarily because police is going to help me track and recover my phone. In most cases, I need it to go back to my service provider so that I can get my number back. Yes. So, but I think you need to put a distinction between why people
I'll
appear
give
to
you
be
another
complying with the
example,
law.
Charles, and this is for your benefit. There was a meeting in Jinja, a public consultation under Justice Law and Order. The Chief Justice was there, police was represented, the Chief of Prisons was there, members of the judiciary. In this, what they call the town hall meeting, they found the number of people aggrieved about the process of resolving their problems so high that the team had to retreat. I spoke to members of the team later, and they say that it's not even the case backlog. The public is so frustrated with the process of getting justice that opportunity was for them just to tell the leadership off. that, look, you guys are doing nothing, you're wasting our time. And this is a high-level consultation there by jailers. Now, Jinja is a good proxy of a fairly large peri-urban, semi-urban environment with a high crime rate. And if the public there felt that the police was just not doing enough, I think that, you know, statistics are like this. Statistics, they say, officials make the statistics and the statistics make the officials. They can be interpreted any way, but that's the feeling.
But Angela, let me tell you one thing. When you analyze it like that, then you're unfair to the police. Because this, it's not the police which brings, it's not only the police that contributes to that situation. Because when a crime is reported, there are other stakeholders. Investigating a crime is not putting ATM card in the machine and then money comes out.
Depending on whether you have the money or not. In the machine.
Yes.
Yes.
So there are so many other factors that contribute to this. You are not into it, but I don't know how I can explain to you.
No, I will give you. I think Charles wants to go for a break. But I have spoken to senior members of that chain, and they have very, very interesting views about police. One is the number of police per population. The other one is the quality of training of the police. The third is this very partisan perception of the police.
And Angel, just maybe as we take the break, one I have realized over the years working very closely with the police as a journalist is that there are many departments that actually put in an honest day's work. The major problem, Mr. Lubega, the reason we have you here is the field police, the field force police, and management of political contestations and how the police has positioned itself in executing those duties. I saw that image that really gutted me in a way of a traffic police officer being chased by an angry mob, and yet traffic police officers, for most of the time, they tend to do a good job. I don't know if that one was being chased because of soliciting a bribe or something.
What happened?
But I have spoken to police officers in traffic who say their work is made 10 times difficult by the actions of the riot control police and the field force unit. There are desk officers within the police who do a very honest job, try to do a very good job, but they can't operate normally because the riot police and the field force police makes their life difficult. Let's pick this up after a short commercial break, and we're concentrating for this show on policing the political contestation over the removal of age limit. We'll be right back. You're still watching the Fourth Estate. I thank you for the viewers who have shared messages indicating that Mr. Lubega was not visible given our background just behind me here. So we've had to switch him. But Angel actually has another reason for switching with Mr. Lubega.
To protect him from you.
Yes, to protect him from me.
Normally to protect him.
Charles here, by the way, has been viewed as oppositionist for a long time. So because he's stating hard issues, I'm the one who's the police here. You can.
So, Paul Katisa, thank you for your message. We're acting on it. And Jose Nwabine pointed out that the background is not clear. And I think even Nicholas Sengova also pointed out that you're not very visible. I hope that's clear. Now it's Angelo who has disappeared. We'll ask production to help us with that with that picture. Nteja Simwe says, kindly be fair to the police officer. Police has not taken sides. They are truly standing in the middle, trying their best to keep law and order. Does it speak for you? What do you say?
I don't know. Yes, that's a positive on the side of the police. Yeah.
Okay, someone says, correction, Charles. Most cases go unreported according to the police report. The same report says mob justice is rampant. There you have your answer. The part of the discussion we're having.
By the way, to the viewers and to Charles, mob justice has gone down. I may not have the figures, but when I look back, when I joined the police 13 years ago, the instances of, like here in Kampala, I think I've had one instance of mob justice here in Shell Capital, where someone was mad and then he wanted to torch some cafe somewhere there.
Not
So
on
this-
Parliament Avenue. I think that incident was on Parliament
Yeah,
Avenue.
yeah. So those issues have gone down to a very large extent, and as a result of the police informing the public through its community policing initiatives. So mob justice, we may not have the statistics here, but even the way the public now internalizes crime, they know that this crime is not only for the police.
I want to point some
solve.
specific incidents we did discuss even during the break. Does it strike you as strange, Mr. Lubega, that a minister announces and says, we have the support of the Maje? Loosely translated to mean, we have the support of the armed forces. She's never been called to make a statement. The military issued a press release. Academy, the UPDF issued a statement and said, for us, she's speaking on her own, we are not part of her. You have another minister who walks into the chamber of parliament on this same controversial subject of age limit, walks into the chamber of parliament with a gun, literally sparking off the melee and the chaos that we have seen post that Majezi motion. He's never been summoned to any police station to record a statement. He's not even a suspect. You have a bunch of what some people have called hooligans who beat up young children and police officers, accompanying them to go to a police event called Boda Boda 2010. And police says, one, we don't know who they are, and later they say, we are investigating. Almost a month down the road, they have not been, no arrest has been made, no summons have been issued on the leaders of a group people think are working closely with the police. And now someone is reminding me, a viewer is reminding me and telling me, you are working with characters not in uniform, but wielding sticks. Yesterday they were wielding wires, electric cables, beating up people. They are never arrested. They work alongside with the police, and nobody knows how exactly you're operating. Don't you think there's justification in saying either you're failing to do your job, or you're doing your job in a clearly partisan way? Because they beat the same kind of people. These kids who were beaten up, little primary school children who were beaten up, were wearing red. And in the interpretation of Boda Boda 2010, they were representing the Don't Touch Article 102B group. And you have failed to record a statement, issue someone, or even tell us they ended up beating people.
Charles, and to the viewers, that incident was put out of proportion. The issue that was of contention between those boys and the pupils of that school was opening for them, then they get something from them. That is Southern Highway. And depending on what you say, first of all, I want to tell you that one person has been arrested.
Who is that person?
I forget his name, but the previous press conference we had, AIGP Kasinje mentioned the name. And I was surprised that none of the journalists followed it up, even up to now. So you can see how unfair you people are. Yet it was running all over the media that the police. And when you look at that footage, there was no physical beating of the pupils who were in the truck. There was no physical, though there was one personnel who was beaten up. And as I've told you, that one person has been arrested, the other one or two is on the run.
What is the relationship between Boda Boda 2010 and the Uganda Police Force?
There is no relationship. The relationship, the other one is an association. It's an association mandated to do what it's doing, provided by the what is required, the memorandum of understanding. I think they have that memorandum of understanding with the Kampala State Council to manage somehow.
To manage what?
To manage this Boda Boda transport.
Mm.
Yeah.
And are they too powerful for the police to call them in, arrest them? I mean, you pick leaders of opposition or of opposition, political opposition, as and when you want. Why is it difficult to bring Border 2010 to account?
For what? For what?
One of your police officers. One of your police officers.
I've told you one.
Just a moment. You're asking for what? One of your police officers has gone to court.
Yes.
Because he was beaten by Border 2010.
Yes.
On a day he was on assignment, protecting or guarding those little children, coming to a police function.
Yes.
And you're saying arrest them or call them in for what?
No, there you are generalizing. But here we are looking at an individual.
Yes.
Individual people. Okay? We are looking at I've told you we have arrested one.
So the police.
So these are guys. These are guys. If I think that these people are there, that they are standing after beating, they stood there.
Can you look at the screen?
These are people who have disappeared.
Have a look at the screen. Have a look at the screen. Those are people not known to the police. Those are people not known to the police.
You see, let me tell you one thing. Some of these people may be known to the police, but I'll tell you that in management of a riot or a demonstration, like in developing countries like Uganda, the police is overwhelmed sometimes. When people, of course, we are mandated to work with people like crime preventers. We condone what these guys are doing.
You condone it?
Yes, because even me as a police, if I
do you mean you condemn or you condone?
Condone.
You accept it?
No, we condemn.
Because that distinction is important.
Though your actions, your actions with them suggest more of the former than the latter.
So what I'm saying is that even if it is the police who has gone beyond, you have subdued someone, you again beat him up. That you have seen our officers, they have been put in disciplinary cases, some have been in criminal cases.
One of those was put under disciplinary proceedings by the police, has now been sent to Rukonjiri by the latest communication.
Well,
as commander, because the commander for Rukonjiri has been withdrawn.
I don't know the outcome of that disciplinary proceeding.
Charles, a very good...
it depends. When they put you for a disciplinary proceeding, it doesn't mean that they are going to you have stopped being an officer. No, you can go into a disciplinary proceeding, then they either caution you, or they fine you,
absolve you. Or they absolve you. Go. So I find that if you look at the context where security agencies have been seen as simply the militarized wing of the ruling political party. Their leaders and leadership, they make two arguments to justify the actions of the... First, by the way, in those situations where we talk about policing as a shield protector of public interest, it has turned out as a sword against whoever the government of the day doesn't like. But people who occupy your position tend to make two excuses. One is that it is lawful what they're doing. It doesn't matter that the law, there's a distinction between what is lawful and what is legitimate. They say it's lawful, we're following the law. The second is that when they are put to task to explain their actions, they say, oh, you know, as you know, it is just a few cases. In other words, it's the exception, not the rule. But both of them are just really excuses, because I think that what happens, Charles, with policing, and he called it in developing countries, is, and why I was saying that we have to empathize with the force, is that superior orders come down the chain of command. But the quality or the character of the politics that leads to the superior orders, that we call it orders from above, is never something that the police is asked to explain. Because take this age limit issue. The politics of that is very complicated. And where you go into a rally and people die or people are injured, no one really answers the real political issues that have led, to to this conversation within the Ugandan public. It is not simply a question of rule of law. There are major political issues that have a longer background than you've given. Secondly, like me, I don't have an issue with age limit, because I think what is really being discussed by the Ugandan public is not the age limit. They're talking about political power, how it is transferred. Should the police be involved in that conversation? I don't think so. Should the actions of people on the one side and the other side be interpreted within the context, the narrow context of the rule of law? I don't think so. And I think people should be empowered to see the distinction. If you go to a rally, there are two sides. If the Ugandan political leadership, and I mean on both sides, first of all, do not address the environment under which they're having this debate, which is characterized, I think, largely by intolerance and contempt on both sides, there's going to be violence in the street, and putting the police there, the clashes will occur. Actually, I have a much more, because I think that there are smokes and mirrors when people talk about public issues. There's not much honesty. I've noticed, Charles, I was telling you, that online and on the street, there's an increasing degree of anti-Kinyarwanda sentiment. If you go on the street now, if they want to insult you, they will just call you Mnyarwanda. Of course, I spoke to a leading member of the government about this, and he said, no, of course, Angela, we recognize that being called a Mnyarwanda, even if there's a law against sectarianism, is used interchangeably. Because a lot of the public cannot tell the distinction between Charles here could be a Mnyarwanda, he's a Mtoro. You could be a Mnyarwanda, you're called Uvega. I could be a Mnyarwanda myself, But it is being used to characterize the so-called authority figures of the ruling power. So people are using this very ethnic marker, which we know has been associated with some of the worst incidents of hate mobilization on the African continent. But it's okay in Uganda. Why are we being so intolerant and using this kind of ethnic hatred? And this leader of government was telling me, because we were having this conversation in his office, I said, well, see, one of my parents is from West Nile, Moyo. During the 1980s, every West Niler was considered Anyanya. And there was a pogrom in that area. 3/4 of the population emptied into Sudan. And these massacres we have to reckon with. Here in Buganda, there was a time when they would say, I don't want to use the phrase that is attributed to Obote, but there was a lot of anger against Baganda, and we've been recording incidents here in Nakulabi and others, in Olubiri. So almost every ethnic community in Uganda has suffered from public mobilization of hate.
Yes. And the major question, Mr. Lubega, has been, where do institutions like the police position themselves?
And to articulate that issue,
yes.
In a manner that you tell political leaders that it's making, it's like an outbreak of disease. If it gets to a point where it's a plague, there's nothing you can do to control it.
Yes.
Does this concern you?
Yeah, it concerns us. And that's why we're saying that it's important. The police has no vendetta on this, on opposition or people who are pro for this or pro for this. Our concern is purely law and order. As I've told you, Charles, these consultations have been going on peacefully. But you see, the police is mandated to detect and investigate and prevent, to assess risks. And these are things that have been coming out. That
when does the police hide behind those? We've seen that dubiously applied. We've seen that dubiously applied in the United States recently, where the perception of the police is that if you see a black person walking on the street or driving a car, you equate that in your assessment. A quick assessment is that there is a risk that this person is either going to or coming from committing a crime. The same seems to be applying with the Uganda police force in dealing with members of the political opposition.
But
would that be a fair?
That's not
fair accusation?
That's not fair. You just understand what I'm telling you. Is that we are working in the spirit of ensuring that these consultations are done in a conducive environment. We have seen meetings, or these consultative meetings, where people have been deliberately inciting violence, saying that if those other people come to your side, don't allow them to talk, beat them up, stop them, don't give them a chance. And you think the police will stay there and look on while these other things
I
are
asked you about specific incidents. You did not respond to them. Let's go back one by one.
Yes.
Why has the State Minister for Investment not been asked to make a statement for her claim that they have the support of the Majay in their push and the actions that have been seen afterwards?
Just to be sincere with you, I've heard about that, what she said, but that's a docket for CID. I may be here saying that we have not done anything, whereas a GF has been opened. So
GF being General Fire.
General Fire.
General Inquiry Fire.
Yeah. So I'm not very specific whether the action the police has taken. None of my friends.
I'm sure if the CID were here, they would say, well, you know, no complaint has been formally given to us.
I don't know.
There's a long list.
But even if there's no complaint,
there's a long list of
there's a long list of excuses that
you know why the public, which I think that you insult by some of your statements, people are not stupid.
Yeah,
they have that long background. So when you speak in the language of the law narrowly, they may think that you're blind to the general context that is going on.
Yeah, no.
Yes. Because
would you have an idea if the minister for the State Minister for Water has been asked to make a statement, maybe by the Parliament Police, for that incident involving the gun at Parliament?
No, I have no idea on that.
You have no idea.
Would you have
an idea? Just one more small thing. Would you have an idea if a man called Tamale Mirundi, former presidential press secretary, who was seen waving a hammer, has been asked to make a statement?
No, I have no idea about that. But no, I have no idea.
Would you have an idea about how many Boda 2010 people are on the police list for summons, apart from the one person who was arrested and hasn't been prosecuted?
Many of them. Actually, cases have been opened up.
Cases. Let me say something about Boda 2010 because
just one question on Boda 2010.
I said I would be protecting you from Charles,
yes.
But I will introduce another element because the fact of the matter is that after the attacks here in Chadondo, by fundamentalists, the bomb attacks, the police leaned heavily on Boda intelligence. Boda is a natural ally because they take everyone everywhere, and they're a huge source of active intelligence for terrorism-related inquiries, and they develop a natural relationship with the police in gathering of intelligence, which is perfectly okay. I think
it may not be official.
It is official. I think. I think someone even gave me a budget number. You spend a lot of money, taxpayers' money, maintaining those networks. They could be classified funds, but the money is going there. The problem here is that these people, again, operating in an environment where they see the political leadership of the police having other problems, have taken it upon themselves to involve themselves in largely political contests. And the police is not telling them, look, when it comes to public political issues, it's not the same thing as terrorism. But we have seen the police leadership describe politicians as terrorists. So how about these ordinary wananchi? How can they tell the distinction between one action working with the police to prevent a terrorist attack and another action supporting the police leadership in beating down political opponents?
Let me ask Sirius, give us those images again. If you can, gentlemen, if you can give us those images again. And then Mr. Lobega can have a look. Because I think involved deeply in the operation, he may not have the opportunity to see exactly what the people on this side see. Can I have those images again, please? As I look up those messages, let me read the full message that Anthony sent in. Anthony is watching us from the United States, And he says, question for the police officer. He should tell us how Ugandans should protect themselves from stick-wielding civilians, stroke goons like those from Boda Boda 2010, because citizens should respect police in uniform with a name on the chest and with police badges. But goons with no uniform, no name, no police badge aren't police. Therefore, it seems people would be quite justified in defending themselves against such goons. What does the officer think? What do you say? The images are there. The images are there. You can have a look at them as you respond.
You see, the police has sections. We have sections of CID. You see, that is what it's supposed to be. You arrest someone, hold him, take him to the police, to the police station. Actually, those crime preventers, that is what they're supposed to do.
No, that one? That's what they're supposed to do.
That is bad. That is bad and shouldn't have happened. In fact, such a person should be arrested because the law empowers civilians to arrest such a people.
Look at that one.
But the challenge is when do you make the arrest? Okay, because the police, for us as officers, we have seen how the officers are behaving. Okay, that is what it should be, even to the civilian. Whether you are working with on the side of the police as a crime preventer, or you are the other side as a civilian, the element of beating up people whom you have already subdued under your custody is against police.
So why does police do it?
I've told you,
Kiboko Squad.
Let me tell you, these riots.
Mr. Lubega, Kiboko Squad was introduced in this country in April 2007. They have never left.
They introduced by who?
They came out of Central Police Station, it was called then, beat up people, and they've become a regular feature. Or part of the policing. And the question has been asked time and again, and police skirts around it, never gets to answer it. And like Anthony is asking, what do you advise people to do? Because, Angelo, I was covering those demonstrations between 2006, starting in 2005, through about 2007, which culminated with an ugly incident of the Mabera riots. Maybe up through to 2009. And at one stage, people standing and watching these stick-wielding characters paused and said, shouldn't we go and confront one and die with him? At least, if the incident degenerates to that level, and police has not explained who these people are, hasn't prosecuted any of them, and works alongside them, like we see here.
Charles and the viewers, as you know, Uganda is a developing country. Some of these things are new to the, when a riot starts, it becomes dynamic, it evolves very fast, okay? But you may not be prepared for some of the situations that arise. We have seen this coming. It is not good, okay?
But these people are very well organized. They come with the electric cables.
So it started with that. But through our briefings, we're saying, let's use other tactics. And you can see of recent, it has come down. Because initially we were not prepared for it.
That's yesterday's incident, okay. Mr. Lubega.
Yeah. No, that is not for yesterday.
Yes,
but even if it was for yesterday.
Yes, that's a recent incident, rather.
But we're trying to say, please look here, you're not supposed to do this. Okay? If you have done it, we penalize you.
Why is this a problem of being a developing country?
Yes, what has the
we have not been able to conceptualize some of these procedures. Okay, even the police, some policemen, you find that
this is because you are a developing country. I don't understand.
No.
What do you mean by that?
When you are working with the society in which we operate, is not the same society in a developed country. Because in a developed country, the civilian will know how to conduct him or herself.
So Ugandans are uncivilized?
So is it a question of civilization?
A civilian, I was referring to people.
Yes.
Okay? You wouldn't see people beating up each other.
Are you serious?
But
did you see the London riots? The riots in Paris and in Toronto? Did you see the problems that the police were handling at that
Yes,
point?
yes, yes.
Where those developing countries?
There's a more recent incident, Angelo, in Spain, Catalonia.
Catalonia
is a good example.
Are those developing countries?
They are developing countries, but what I'm trying to say is that
they are not
they are
developing
using what?
countries.
They are beating up themselves using what?
People who are torching buildings. You can just go and review the footage of
what I'm saying here we are referring to use of sticks.
I just want you to withdraw your statement that because this is a developing country that these problems are unique. They are not. By the way, what Charles is referring to about the involvement of irregular units alongside law enforcement didn't happen in those developed countries that you're referring to. It's a developing country.
They don't use people like crime preventers?
No. That is a feature of the political system. It has nothing to do with policing. I'll give you an example.
About names, but
I'll give you an example. Kakoza Mutale appeared before a judicial inquiry here in Uganda in the late 90s. He gave testimony that while as a young person here in the streets of Kampala, UPC youth wingers who are not part of the security establishment were driving around buses, picking civilians and torturing them. Those UPC youth wingers were not officially part of any security system, but were used as crime preventers. Later, Kakoza Mutale himself was accused before the Human Rights Commission now of having been part of a group driving a bus around during public consultations on the lifting of term limits, arresting people, torturing them.
No, actually, he was involved. He was involved heavily with Kalanga Action Plan.
My point is that this has nothing to do with your argument that Ugandans are uncivilized.
Have you said
that Uganda is a developing country? No, when you say people in the developed West behave in a particular way,
we are working in an environment
where
when you assault someone, they fight. When the people fight on the street, and that is the end of it.
Yes, people fight all over the world.
People will not go to the police. People will not go to the police. If someone beats me up,
no, Mr. Lubega, it has nothing to do with the development level of the country.
So beat me.
Of Ugandans. Okay, let me take a couple of messages and we take a break. Actually, Kakoza Mutale was highly involved in the 2001 campaign with his Kalanga Action Plan.
But those are individual actions that someone has to answer for.
Jude Kagoro is watching us. He says, Charles, in Uganda, many people move towards police or want police closer to them compared to most of Africa where people move away from police. This is based on the research we have been conducting for the last 4 years. Thanks to technology, I can watch you from my living room in Germany. Thank you, Dr. Jude Kagoro, for the message. A viewer here says, this is Noah. Noah is in Imbara. He says, the policemen are brothers and sisters. They are legitimate kids born of our mothers and fathers. We were happy for them when they joined the force, and we celebrated their employment and pride in serving their country for a noble cause. We give them small loans and drink cheap beer with them in leisure evenings. Yes, they will point the muzzle of their guns at us and reluctantly squeeze the trigger when the shogun commands, but not for long. All wheels eventually come full circle. Yesterday, in broad daylight, about 10 armed men in casual wear, all armed with pistols and AK-47s, beat, arrested, and whisked away 4 border boys in Mbarara, in Enoa. This is a viewer who's communicating what they have found. Eddie in Chigoa says, can Mr. Lubega give us few examples of where police has actually provided security in an opposition-related procession and they have caused chaos? He needs you to provide a specific answer. Another viewer here says, Moses Nkutu is in Luwafu marching to Kampala. He says, the guy in the studio is undoubtedly not a police officer in the true sense. The fellow is an intelligence officer of the regime and forcibly trying to place himself as a police officer. He is... Moses, I can't make out your message because I don't want it to be insulting to my guests, especially. A listener here says, this is a very long message. I'm not sure I'll take all of it. But he says, members, do you believe this? Though I don't think this is speaking to the show we are having. tonight, so I'll read it. It's a fairly long message. I'll read it later and maybe respond from the person who sent this message. Another person says, okay, we'll need to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll be concluding the discussions of this show, but we also open the line to our viewers to share with us your views and opinions. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this last segment of the Fourth Estate. It is the police under the microscope, how police is policing. This contestation, the political contestation over amendment of Article 102B to remove age limits. Andrew Irumba watching us, he says, I'm suffering from Kamunguluze, watching that police officer talking versus reading the Constitution. Just today, I saw another one explaining that police tear gas crowds in Mbale today because they were too excited and in big numbers to welcome the leader of opposition. What do you say to Andrew Irumba?
No, Andrew, for your information, the police had agreed. They were in consultation. They were in good terms. They were liaising with the Honorable MP there, Honorable Jack Wamanga. And everything was set. And also we had information that some group of people, including the leader of opposition, Madam Honorable Winnie, they're within the vicinity. But when we are talking to them, we happened to talk to them. We are dialoguing with them. They said, no, for us, we are going to, we're transiting through Mbale. We are going to Tororo to meet, she was going to meet Honorable Nandala Mafavi. Then from nowhere.
Who had his own drama before involving the police before.
From nowhere, she diverted from the what we had agreed on. Then she came in.
Back in the monitor, we used to start a story like this one as trouble began.
Yes, but do you think you're really exceeding your mandate, trying to manage how people move? What would have been the problem of her going by and saying Wamanga Omai is her MP as much as Nandala Mafavi is her MP? She was going to see Nandala Mafavi because Nandala Mafavi was involved in some altercation, ended up getting arrested by the police because of the same consultation. Do you find the criticism that comes to the police somewhat justified? Because, I mean...
No, you see, what happens is that the police take stock of an event after the other event. And so the police assessed that when these people are moving in groups, there are some other threats that come with them.
Like?
And we saw it in Kasubi. You remember these consultations were going on very well from the beginning. So we saw that if people move with groups of people, then it is going to become difficult for the police to manage these crowds. Because remember, the crowd for Honorable Chaglan does not come as an individual. He will come with a group of people.
So, and what's wrong with that?
But haven't you known that when these people are retreating back home, they cause havoc?
Why don't you isolate the people who cause havoc and let those
at night, at 7 p.m.
No, those were excited. Those were excited. But what kind of havoc are you talking about?
I think he's talking about the stampede effect. Anytime you've got a large crowd, if something happens like this,
they stage roadblocks. They snatch people's bags. They snatch even people. They snatch people things, commodities, food, what.
But
it becomes very difficult to control them.
Mr. Lubega, it will become difficult to justify that when in almost 15 years, no, 10 years of consistent demonstrations, about 10, 12 years of consistent demonstrations in this town, we have not seen a successful prosecution of saying, we saw this guy snatch a phone or beat up somebody at a demonstration and we're able to isolate him from, because he is the bad element within the crowd, we isolated them and we're able to prosecute them successfully. Why doesn't that Why is that story not concluded?
It's easier said. But we do it. It is documented. Yes.
How come we don't see that?
You see, if someone's phone is snatched by these people, not only phone or a car is smashed, sometimes it's at night. You may not know who has done this.
But Mr. Lubega, people are snatching phones from churches. Yes, people go to pray and they snatch.
I'm not talking about only snatching phones.
They steal phones.
I'm talking of blocking roads, demolishing property, torching buildings, smashing people's cars, that kind of
in other words, political crimes. But Charles, you're putting a lot of burden on the police. Like I said, they cannot quite account for the quality of the political culture. The political culture in Uganda is toxic, you know, and Ugandans must take responsibility for it. There's intolerance and contempt on all sides, and I think that Ugandans are not very honest about what is really going on. Like I said, there's like dark ethnic undertones in the public debate, propaganda on both sides. In fact, I think the people who benefit the most from images of clashes with the police is the underdog in this way, which is the opposition. The only way they can communicate that they are under siege is this constant clashes with the police.
I agree with you entirely. The question, because the political opposition has pushed back and said, when we have been left to our own devices, there has been nothing wrong. You said there was a successful rally in Nakawa, a successful rally in Kireka. Why wasn't there incidents of snatching and destruction of property?
But at the same time, Charles, you must accept that within the political opposition, especially those who have been described as radicals, the language that they use and the tone of language they use is almost, you know, commensurate to the language that their opponents in the NRM use. And by the way, in terms of political establishment, actually in Uganda, both the political opposition and the political ruling party, they all come from the same place.
Yes.
You know, I think that there has to be an arbiter here, which is the Ugandan public, especially the majority, to say to politicians that, look, there are other things that are greater that are at stake here.
Okay.
And public order is one of those things that we share.
Okay, I need to take some calls. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir, your name and where you're calling from?
Okay, good evening, Charles.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, in the studio now.
Yes, sir. Your name?
I'm called Richard. I will be very brief. My comments. Yeah. Since Kaihura came into the police, the police has been partisan. I think Museveni's appointment of Kale Kaihura was for him to implement his favors. Ever since, Uganda police has never been the same again. All the senior officers who were left behind by the previous IGPs were either demoted or retired. All these guys, the likes of Lubega, Bakalekeru, those are Kaihura's upbringing. So the police has never been the same since Kaihura took over as IGP, and it will never be the same again until Kaihura or the dictatorship of Museveni is deposed. This is Richard Biemaro.
Okay, Richard Biemaro, thank you for your comment. We'll have Lubega respond. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm Disan. Good evening, Charles.
Good evening. Your name again, sir?
I'm Disan.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes, I think the problem with police is the same problem we have as a country. Because we are all somehow intolerant. And I think since independence, no group that has tolerated the even, the men who through the children to have killed people was also not doing it himself. I think he was using the same situation to kill people. The same thing, Obote did it, Museveni is still doing it. But the unfortunate part on the part of security and the government in power, they forget that once you get in, it's mandatory that you must get out. So they should sort themselves when they are still in, so that they are not accused.
Okay. He said he's called Dissent? Somebody?
I thought it was Misach.
Misach. Okay. Do we have another caller? Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Lira.
Yes, your name, sir.
Bono Gongson.
Which one?
I want to ask a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
With Zama to let me understand and know where one of the police officers who tried to work within the Constitution during time to walk to work.
Where that person is?
Yes.
I do not know where this individual is. I know who you're referring to, but can you tell us where he is?
He's still in the police. He's a police officer, though I don't know where exactly he's deployed.
You're referring to the former DPC of Ginger Road?
He was OC Operations.
OC Operations, okay.
He's still in the police. Only a different assignment.
Yes.
Yes.
We're still listening to you.
What goes around comes around. We know quite well that the same people talking today were the same people also propagating their Nyanyash hatred campaign. So if I hear you talking about the Banyarwanda, I think Uganda is still going back where it was about 30 years back, or 32 years back.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Hello?
Yeah, I think he makes a fair point.
You get
but yeah, I get the point he's making. He's saying that history repeats itself.
Can I just pick a few more calls and then we'll respond at once because we don't have a lot of time. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Kasoma Farouk of Uganda from Highfield think tank.
Kasoma Farouk of Uganda. Go ahead.
My question is, I don't know the officers what they are going to do to balance between not annoying the government and not annoying the opposition in this critical environment. I want the officer to elaborate about that.
Thank you very much,
Kasoma Farouk of Uganda.
Thank you. Hello, do we have another caller? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Your name, sir, and where you're calling from? Yes, we can hear you. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is St. Mike from Chotera.
Yes, Michael.
I would like police to be cautious. You know, some of these opposition fellas are paid to intimidate police such that you are caught on cameras. There are people funding this to display government that is bad. So police, you to take care. And I want the public to know that the president, the Constitution states that the president is the chief in commander of all the armed forces. What do you expect police to do when they are ordered?
Okay, I think we lost Michael. What do you expect the police to do if they receive an order? It's superior orders, which Angelo talked about. Hello? Do you have another caller? Hello?
Hello, yes.
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
You're speaking to Lawrence from Luvaga.
Yes, Lawrence.
Yeah, I would like to know what the police officer will do once we Ugandans start defending ourselves against those goons. Because at some point, I know like 10 people will get 5 of those guys, then burn them and set them on fire. What would the police say then?
Okay.
That's my...
Thank you. Do you have another caller? Hello? Yes. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Ankton. I am calling from Chebando.
Yes, please.
Now, the police's work should be to keep law and order. So I'm asking that, Mr. Policeman, that when you come in, when these people, for example, are standing somewhere and they're just having their procession or they're somewhere on a rally, do you really believe that every time you come in, order is better than before you come in?
Okay.
And if you don't come in, do you think that order is going to be worse than when you come in? Because you should use common sense. you should use intuition. Are you having that? Because you are not army, but you are police. You are supposed to be working with people. Now, another thing that I want to talk about. Gentlemen, when you are a policeman and you're being sent somewhere to do some work, like for example, you enter and you see that people are fighting you. Now these are people. And you know that it's because of Besigye or somebody. If you really believe Besigye has committed a crime, why don't you just get near Besigye, arrest him, take him away, and don't tackle the people? Just go pick Besigye, pick Lukwago, the one you believe has committed a crime, take him to police, next day take him to court, and prosecute him. Why do you beat up on people who are innocent? Because some of them, these people have just been...
But Anson, to maybe help Lubega here, you realize that Besigye, Lukwago, Chagulanya and the others have supporters who will not let them just be taken away like that. And even these being politicians, they will not just accept a police order to follow the police.
Okay. This is what I'm saying.
Yes.
These are key figures who have their homes and they are strong people. Today, he has not been taken. But what shows clearly that they have not committed any crime is because the next day in the morning they are at their homes and nobody is arresting them to take them to police and to prosecute them.
Thank you.
Because if they are people who you've been looking for and they have been causing all this havoc and it's for sure, you know, it's against the law, then the next day they should be in court, they should be prosecuted. Why are they not prosecuted? It's because that police knows that this man has not committed any crime. In Uganda, tukiita kuyikiriza, just overa omuyikiriza ng'oyagala kumustopinga naye ng'omanyi toyina tteeka na musango gwonna gw'omuvuna naye ensonga lwaki the next day tomutwala ku police, tomutwala mu kooti, wabula omuleka bulesi n'ogamba nakulemesezza nga bw'onoolaba a boy who has taken a girl, and because for you are strong oyina emiwula gy'amaanyi n'omugabo gambye nja mukuba naye nga tolina police tolina gy'ogenda mulopa naye n'omugabo nja kukuba kibooko bw'oba toleka muwala.
Okay, thank you, Angton. I think Lubega follows that very well and understands, but we understand what you're talking about. There is a caller here who says, I was told that, yes, I was told actually some police officers who are part of the network of thugs, when you go to police to report a case of a stolen item, the police officer will in turn report you to the thief, so that the thief works on you thoroughly. On Wednesday, a thug snatched my phone, but as I contemplated to use police to track it, I was advised not to waste my time and money because most thieves work with some police officers. They even change the serial number of the stolen phone together with the police. Another listener here, Nteje, comes back and says, Charles, are you saying it is illegal to move with a hammer? As if Besigye had a hammer in 2001, ostensibly to remove Museveni, the quarter pin. Was he charged? He's referring to something you haven't responded to, of Tamale Mirundi with his hammer. Tom Boyjana is watching us from Fort Portal, and he says, the issue of the Honorable Anites and Majezi is quite intricate. You have NRM MPs and our resistance officer MPs representing UPDF on the Maje. Mr. Lubega, you've listened to there are quite many messages here. Someone says, Lincoln Sayuni is in Kisasi, says, truth is, political leaders in urban centers of the country provoke police to create scenes, and police won't take chances. There is a caller who says that police under Kaihura has never been the same again. Yes, I agree. It has changed from worse to good. If this level of provocation happened 20 years back, police would be overrun. This listener here comes back and says, Charles, if those guys can allow Tamale Mirundi to move the hammer in public, and they don't even call him to make a statement, and then they say that the opposition guys incite violence when they only move with nothing, not even a stick, please, they should not deceive us. This is Julius Nimbarara. And he adds, I don't know whether those police guys remember their family members from where they come from. They beat people and forget their parents and wives and children in the villages. When things turn hot, Ugandans will turn on their families. Let them do their work cautiously. That's Julius in Imbarara. Julius is threatening the police. Okay, and let me see. I think that's all we'll take for now.
It seems the tone of the
a couple of messages. Can I take this?
There's a dilemma. No, go ahead.
Why should the police authorize and watch thugs beating civilians and assume it's normal? If citizens begin organizing against these thugs, who will take responsibility for the outcomes? If any of these thugs lost a life at the watch of the police by civilians, trying to defend themselves, how would the charge against the civilian be framed? Someone else raised it here. Another listener here, Bernard Impairo, says, I think someone senior and well-informed from police force should have been the one to appear on today's talk show, given the topic of today. I think the police officer currently in the studio is seriously struggling even on obvious questions. Bernard Impairo. Can we stop it there because we got to get out of here? Mr. Lubega, you've listened to the questions, the callers, and the messages I've read out. I need to respond.
Yeah, the questions are quite many. I don't know which one I should start with.
Start with the most obvious one of the goons you're working with. How would you deal with them? Because about 2-3 people talked about them.
We're not dealing with goons. The people, when an operation is going to take place, some of these people you see working with the police, some of them are police officers. You know, we have units which do not necessarily have to put on uniforms, like the CIDs. They don't put on uniform.
So by that, Mr. Lubega, you are admitting that the police act outside the law. You said earlier, you said earlier on the show that you do not condone what they are doing, that you condemn.
Yes.
Don't use the word condone. Because what you said they were doing was the wrong thing. And you pointed to those police officers who were in uniform and said, that's how you're supposed to act. The ones wearing cables and beating up people, you condemn them. Now you're saying they are part of you.
Well, I'm saying some of these people, we have units. These are CID people, some of them. Some of them are crime preventers who work with us. But when you go overboard, then you are liable to be punished. You have seen these officers. They have been put before the disciplinary courts. Some of them have been taken on as individuals in courts of law. So the issue is that the police, we need to control. We need to be able to control the excesses of these officers and some of these people with whom we work with. We should be able to be on top of that. And we are working on that because we are emphasizing arresting in a reasonable force and then taking to the police. Yes.
Okay. Ankton asked, keeping law and order, do you think that when you intervene, you could get more order, or when you don't intervene, there would be more chaos?
It depends. It depends. Police, for us, we are for law and order. Actually, we wouldn't want, we are human beings. By the way, people should know that we are human beings. We wouldn't want to go all the time. Because you have seen, one officer has lost an eye. Some officers have been assaulted, have been injured. So we don't just enjoy to control situations or issues that come up. So we exercise caution, we exercise intelligence, because they are trying to imply that that the police should look on and see what happens. But that's not how the security works. You can't wait for someone to be hit with the hammer and then you come in. Sometimes we prevent. That is our mandate. Yeah, as I've told you, these issues are clear. You can even see that the police is being provoked. As Angela said, that some of the opposition thrives in this kind of running battles that the police is involved. So we, as police, we don't want to be within this running. We would like a peaceful rally. It ends and then we also go home and relax. Okay, but situations therein, some of these situations that are caused by the leaders, caused by the participants, are the ones who bring up these situations.
Okay. I think our time is running short. Angelo, I need you to come in. I think in summary you have responded to the questions that people raised. Michael was saying police needs to be cautious. Others, someone telling you, one of the callers saying you have family and you should be careful about, you should be cautious about your other family members and what will happen. but basically reading the political tide and making sure that you're not caught in between the political tide. Angela, as we bring the show to an end, the consultation is not yet over. The police finds itself clearly caught in the middle. But largely, yes, between superior orders and...
Yeah, bad things happen when there's blind obedience of superior orders. Me and Lubega were talking about resources for the police. Of course, the SS, the German police, the ones who superintended the mass killing of Jews, you know, they had the law on their side, and they had the resources of the state on their side. It didn't make what they were doing legitimate, and many of them, you know, paid for it later. You don't have to wait for such a time. I think that cooler heads should prevail, at least in this period, but the police can't cure political problems, and people should recognize that where the political problems, the root of those of the chaos is politics. It's not so much enforcement of the rule of law, and they should talk to their political leaders to come to some kind of agreement. It has never actually, I've expressed this view to the police. I said, you know, where the political problems, these are not problems of law and order immediately. The first point of call is to deal with them politically. If you bring in the force of the law, because policemen are armed, you complicate matters. And there has been bad imaging of the police because the police is involved in political contests. I mean, that has to change. Some of us, I mean, of course, you know, my view is that whatever happens with these consultations won't even deal with the structural problems that develop our politics. So Ugandans will dig in for a long time. My only issue in this current environment is that if the anger we are seeing continues, we might be facing a much more difficult situation where, you know, this ethnic anger spills over not just on the street, but it becomes the kind of violence we have seen in the past, which might, you know, the esteemed caller from the north was referring to, which is this, you know, seesaw of you know, ethnically inspired killings that Uganda has witnessed in the past.
Our time is out. We need to get out of here. If you had one last word, Mr. Lubega, what would you say to the viewers?
I would appeal to the leaders, specifically the members of parliament in their respective constituencies, to really dialogue with the police. Let's communicate, because when you look at this incident of Honorable Sewanyana, he had abused all the procedures of informing the police and on the ground where the incident is taking place. So we would even call him. We called him. He refused to come. He refused to pick. He refused to pick his phone. We are telling him that ABC is not right. Please come and we discuss in advance. Before he refused. When he came, the officer was telling him that the place where you have put your rally is not suitable because of ABCD. It's a trading center. It's within a junction. It will disorganize it will infringe on other people's rights. He refused. He just walked away, said, whatever come may, I'm going to do that. So, for us as police, we don't have any personal vendetta on the members of opposition. As we have seen, some consultations have been peaceful. So, we call upon the legislators to be able to be in position, to be in command, not only themselves, but also, because you have seen the language that they're using, but also to be able to control. They have responsibility to control the participants of those
of the rallies they call.
Of the rallies they call.
Thank you very much, Superintendent of Police Samson Lubega, Public Relations Officer, Field Force Unit and Operations. Thank you very much for making time for the show. Thank you very much, Angela Izama, for making time for the show. Thank you very much to you all our viewers for joining us tonight and always, and for staying up late to listen to the show and giving us critical feedback. This debate continues on our social media platforms, both on Facebook and on Twitter. And lastly, thank you very much. Last but not least, thank you very much to the production crew that delivers this show to you. From me, it's a good night.